Wall Street indices end with modest gains as investors shrugged off worries around the stretched tech valuation and focused on Supreme Court's hearing on President Donald Trump's tariff. Markets in Asia open higher, tracking gains from Wall Street. GIFT Nifty is indicating a positive start for the Indian market. Crude prices extend losses as concerns over oversupply and weak demand weigh on sentiment. Meanwhile, gold gains on risk aversion despite stronger than expected U.S. payrolls data. In a nearly 3-hour hearing, the U.S. Supreme Court Justice expresses skepticism about the legality of aggressive tariff imposed by President Donald Trump. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick were among those in the audience, even as President Trump opted not to attend. Conservative and liberal justice sharply questioned the lawyer on how Trump's administration was enacting the tariffs. In key earnings, Sun Pharma reports an operational beat in Q2 FY26, where revenue was in line with estimates. Meanwhile, Grasim reports better than expected standalone results led by chemical segment. Revenue from operations rise 26% on a year-on-year basis. However, airline operator Indigo's net losses widens during the second quarter on the back of higher forex costs. Polling in first phase of Bihar Assembly election begins for 121 constituencies, which is set to decide the fate of the 2-decade-long Nitish Kumar-led NDA government in the state. Several high-profile candidates, including RJD's Tejaswini Yadav, BJP leader Samrat Chaudhary, JDU Shravan Kumar, as well as Tej Pratap Yadav in the fray. Hello, good morning. You've tuned into CNBC TV 18. You're watching Power Breakfast with me, Vinny Motiwala. Yesterday, surely we had a market holiday, but a lot that happened on the global front and the Asian market front. While US markets managed to close in the green, we have Asian markets that are following that cue and have opened up in the green as well. Look at the Taiwan index, managing to hold on to gains of 0.8%. Hang Seng too is holding on to strong gains, 0.8%. Most of the indices have opened up in the green, whether you look at the Nikkei, that's Japanese index, or the ASX 200. All of them are holding on to green. That AI-related stocks which saw a fall in yesterday's trading session. Now today seems like there is a bit of a relief coming in there as well. So all the indices opened up in the green. Even the Kospi is managing to hold on to green, and that is why the Nifty implied open GIFT Nifty is indicating a bit of a positive start for the Indian markets. As of now, just a 30-point uptick, but that is what we're keeping an eye out on. A positive start for our markets following the cues from the Asian markets. But a lot of action that happened and came in overnight in terms of the Indian markets and the global markets as well. The team of researchers here to set you up for trade, tell you which are the important stocks to watch out for, as well as the cues in the world of F&O. First up, let's go across to Hormaz, who's here to tell us the important cues that we're keeping an eye out on today. Good morning, Hormaz.
Good morning, Vinny. And 2 days of cues that we need to digest, but we're expecting some recovery in today's session is what the GIFT Nifty is indicating. Well, the last 3 of the last 4 sessions, the Nifty has ended lower. What will also not please the bulls is the fact that for the last 5 sessions, we've been making lower highs and lower lows. We managed to break past Monday's low as well on Tuesday and ended close to the lows of the day. That is also something that the bulls will not be pleased about. But more than the index, the bulls will be displeased about the Nifty Bank's underperformance, because after closing above that mark of 58,000 on Monday, the Nifty Bank failed to sustain those levels and closed below it despite the rebound seen in SBI after its results, and it yet managed to end near the lowest point of the day. Now, what we need to watch out for in today's session is that in case there is any further declines on the index, that could open up the October 17th low of 25,508, and that might come into play just around 90 points away from those levels. Now, on the upside, of course, that 25,750, 25,800 zone continues to remain a congestion for the index. The same is the case for the Nifty Bank as well. Although it recovered 100 points from the lows on Tuesday, it still managed to end lower, and that 57,650, 57,700 zone could act as a potential support for the Nifty Bank. But a close above 58,000 and sustaining above it is very important for those bullish sentiments to sustain. What we need to watch out for today, of course, is the weekly expiry of the sensex contracts. The stock specific action remains the key, because there will be a plethora of earnings reactions Tuesday after market hours, Wednesday's earnings, all of them, and some important earnings today as well. Watch out for the Supreme Court questioning the legality of the Trump tariffs, and that could just play some sentimental impact on the market as well in case there is any potential recovery. Also watch out for the MSCI inclusions with Paytm, Fortis, GE, Vernova, and And one more stock which was included, which is Siemens Energy, that will be part of the standard index, and two names, Tata Elxsi and Concor, they will be excluded from the standard index. So for now, a mild positive start is what the GIFT Nifty is anticipating. It remains to be seen whether any potential recovery gets sold into today as well.
Absolutely, Urmas. Thanks so much for that. But let's go across to Sudarshan now, who's here to tell us what is the cue or what are the important things that we're keeping an eye out on in the world of F&O. Good morning, Sudarshan.
Good morning, Vinny. So after falling for 2 days continuously, now the hope or big question is, will the market reverse those losses? And the reason I'm saying, because the earnings announced over the weekend, most of them have reported earnings. Those were largely in line or slightly better than expectations. And the cues that we are getting from global markets also are not looking that bad. And on the back of that, GIFT Nifty for today is indicating a start with minor gains, currently up around 25 points. But as far as the previous day's session is concerned, we have seen FI selling both in the cash market as well as in the derivative market. In the cash market, they have sold almost 1,100 crore, but DIs have bought more than 1,200 crore. In the index futures, the sell figure by FIs was more than 2,000 crore. Now their longs exposure has reduced to 15%, and they continue to add the short positions. And previously also, we have seen addition of almost 12,000 contracts. In the options data, on the call side, 25,700 and 25,000 call options were healthy, where we have seen a premium coming down. But on the put side, premium continues to rise for both 25,250 or say 25,200. So for now, range has expanded from 25,200 to 26,000. That's a support. First support will be 25,380. Remember, Nifty is trading very near very important level of 20-day moving average of 25,590. So it will try to hold first 25,400, but 25,380 is the key support. Resistance remains around 26,000. For Nifty Bank, support would be around 57,400 and resistance around 58,120. Two stocks that I'll keep an eye on. First one is Delivery. It has also announced earnings, and ahead of earnings, it was seeing fresh longs. And apart from that, keep an eye on Dabur. Previously, we have seen a huge up move in the stock, and it was seeing fresh longs. So I'll keep an eye on both these names.
Okay, keeping an eye on both these names, as well as that resistance 26,000, that also remains key for the Nifty, but keep an eye out on that. Thanks so much for that, Sudarshan. But finally, we have Upasa who's here to tell us which are the important stocks to watch out for in today's trading session. Good morning, Upasa.
Good morning, Winnie. First up, let me start with Britannia. The company has reported its Q2 numbers, and mind you, it's a stellar performance. It's a stellar EBITDA performance as well. Revenue is largely in line. And as business impacted by GST transition. Now, company has also appointed Rakshit Hargave as the CEO of the company for 5 years, is what the company has indicated. Next up is Berger Paints. Overall, if we see, it's been a soft quarter for the company. Net profit down 25% on a YoY basis. Revenue up just about 2%. Indigo, seasonally, it's been a weak quarter for the company. Net loss reported is at 2,582 versus net loss of 988 crore. But overall, if we see, the revenue is up about 9%. Blue Star, overall, it's been a mixed set of numbers. The company's UCP segment reported a muted performance, while overall EBITDA margin expanded by nearly about 100 basis points. Revenue up about 6% and PAT up 3% on a YoY basis. Whirlpool overall reported a weak set of numbers, revenue down 4%, EBITDA margin down nearly about 160 basis points at 3.5%. Cainstack, overall, the company has reported a good set of numbers, largely in line with the street estimates. Revenue up 58% and PAT up nearly about 102%. Garden Reach, a good set of numbers again reported by this defense major. Net profit up 56%, revenue up 45% on a YoY basis. Now coming to BEML, now this quarter has been a weak one. The net profit down 6% and revenue down 2.4%. Now coming to the other stocks, now RBL Bank will be in focus on the back of the block deal. According to the sources, M&M is likely to sell entire 3.4% stake in the company, and block size is nearly about 682 crore with a floor price of around 317 per share. So we'll be keeping an eye out on that as well.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Upasana. But on that note, we're actually going to slip into a very short break. After the break, we'll get you the details of US Supreme Court ruling on Trump's tariff. Welcome back to Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Now talking about the U.S. markets, Wall Street indices closed with gains in the overnight session, and this came in as the Supreme Court pointed and questioned over President Donald Trump's tariff power, boosted expectations that some duties could be rolled back. The positive close was also supported by the rebound in AI-linked stocks. Now Dow Jones gained around 226 points, S&P 500 added 25 points, while the Nasdaq closed with gains of 151 points as well. And talking about the Supreme Court hearing regarding President Donald Trump's tariff, the issue at hand is whether the President had the authority to impose such duties under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Now, the High Court's justice focused their questions on the legality of the sweeping tariffs, with both conservative as well as liberal members asking Solicitor General about the Trump administration's justification. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told the reporters that the Solicitor General made a powerful case for the Trump administration to have powers on this as well. Listen to what he had to say.
I think it went very well. I think the Solicitor General made a very powerful case for the need for the president to have the IEPA powers, and I believe that the other side, in a way, fell flat on their face. But that'll be up to SCOTUS.
Secretary Bessent, what's the plan B if the Supreme Court ultimately rules against the president's powers?
We're not going to discuss that now.
Okay, that's the latest update there. But the government shutdown in the United States has now become the longest in the country's history after a failed Senate vote. Now, despite the outcome, lawmakers from both the parties have hinted at the emerging contours of the deal at the end of the stalemate, possibly as early as this week. Take a look at this report.
The U.S. government shutdown became the longest in American history on Wednesday, breaking the previous record set during President Donald Trump's first term. Speaking at a White House breakfast, Trump said the shutdown was partly to blame for a string of election victories for Democrats the night before, and told the room full of Republican senators to end the deadlock.
If you read the pollsters, the shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans.
Democrats in Congress are demanding an extension of Affordable Care Act tax credits that would stop health insurance rates from spiking. Republicans, however, are refusing to tie the extension of those tax credits to their funding bill and do not have the 60 votes they need to move it forward. Meanwhile, food aid recipients, air traffic controllers, and federal workers have been caught in the crossfire. Stephanie Rogers, a microbiologist with the Food and Drug Administration in Colorado, is one of them. She was furloughed on October 1st and has spoken to Reuters and other media outlets about the difficulties she's encountered since.
You know, I'm struggling. My children are struggling. Our relationships are struggling. It's hard to balance everything.
Rogers is a single mother who finds herself raiding her 401k, rationing groceries, and juggling overdue bills. Her state unemployment claim was denied because of an error. Federal workers are eligible, but the glitch could take weeks to fix.
I can't pay my bills. I don't know how to balance my bills because how long are we going to go determines how long my money will last. My daughter has a medication that she's on a daily basis, and I have to consider that, and I have to worry about that too, and how am I going to pay for the appointment and the medication and everything else, and that's not a place a mom likes to be in. So it's hard.
The shutdown is a test for Trump, who faces declining popularity. At the day's White House gathering, he called on Republicans to abolish the filibuster, saying it was the only way to pass their bill, as it would only require a simple majority of 51 Senate seats.
I think it's very important. We have to get the country open.
But in a rare rejection of Trump's demands, it appeared on Wednesday that more than a few Republicans were opposed to scrapping the rule, with Senate Majority Leader John Thune saying, quote, "I know where the math is on this issue in the Senate, and it's not happening."
Okay, surely an important update there. But on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break. We'll get you cues in the world of commodity after the break. Stay tuned in. Thanks for staying tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Now, many mystery writes to the Tata Trust chairman Noel Tata expressing desire to part ways in a bid to bringing an end to the speculative media reports surrounding his exit. Parikshit is joining in with us to give us details on this one.
After weeks of simmering tensions, Mehli Mistry has decided to part ways with Tata Trusts. CNBC TV 18 was the first channel to report on Mistry's letter to Noel Tata at 6:25 p.m. on the 4th of November, and the story was later confirmed by a copy of the letter released by Mistry's office. In his letter, Mistry said that he wants to part ways and put a quietus on speculative news reports that are inimical to the interests of Tata Trusts. The former board member of Tata Trust said that it was his privilege to serve as trustee till the 28th of October. Mistry said it was his responsibility now to ensure that Tata Group is not plunged into a controversy, and precipitating matters would cause irreparable harm to the Tata Group. There have been strong differences among trustees at Tata Trust ever since former Defence Secretary Vijay Singh was removed from the Tata Sons board. Tata trustees, which include Noel Tata, Venu Srinivasan, Vijay Singh, Jahangir H.C. Jahangir, Darius Kambata and Pramit Javeri, have been divided over how Tata Sons should be governed. Mehli Mistry was a key member of the Tata Trust till the 28th of October, when he was ousted, with 3 out of 5 trustees voting against his reappointment. Will this now bring an end to tensions within the Tata Trust, which owns 66% stake in Tata Sons? And how will this episode impact the relationship between Tata Trusts and Tata Sons? Those are the 2 big future developments to watch out for.
Okay, Parikshit, thank you so much for that. But let's go across to Manisha, who's here to tell us what to watch out for in the world of commodities. Good morning, Manisha.
Morning, Minnie. Thank you for that. Well, I'm looking at most of the commodities actually starting Asian markets on a slightly weaker note. I'll start with the crude oil prices, which are trading at a 2-week lows right now. We have seen the U.S. crude inventories gain to the biggest increase since the month of July. And then there is a report from Mercuria saying that the global surplus could reach 2 million barrels per day in 2026. That doesn't work well for the crude prices right now. But what also has happened is that there is some profit taking happening in the metal space. For precious metals, it is about the dollar index holding at 100 near a 5-month highs, and that's weighing onto the markets. Also, there is just about a 62% probability now of a U.S. rate cut for the month of December. That's weighing onto the market. But there also is a decline in the base metal prices on the back of strength in U.S. dollar. The weak manufacturing data that we have seen come in from U.S. and China also seems to be weighing on. So whether it's about copper, aluminum, zinc, all of these metals which were surging for most part of October, and that is how we started the month of November as well, seem to be going in for some kind of a profit taking.
Okay, Manisha, thank you so much for that. But let's shift focus, and the polling in the first phase of Bihar Assembly election begins for 121 constituencies. Our colleague Arunima is joining us with an on-ground report.
First phase of voting in Bihar has begun early morning at this booth, which is Veterinary College, Patna. Already you are seeing there are young women voters who have arrived. They are going by that famous adage of Pehle Matdan, Fir Jalpan, which means you must vote first. There are some voters who have already gone in. The booth level agents have been deployed. The responsibility of booth level agents this time is also very important, given the fact that Rahul Gandhi is repeatedly raising the allegation of vote chori. So if there are any anomalies as far as the voting process is concerned, Congress's own agents, Mahagathbandhan's own agents are keeping an eye on what is happening there. Ma'am, 1 minute agar apna naya epic card aap dikhaye. See, this is also the new epic card which is come in. Bihar is voting after the SIR has happened. आप लोग सुबह-सुबह आ गए वोट देने के लिए. क्या excitement है?
There's an excitement for the new government to come in action after 14th of November and have evolution in the education industry, infrastructure. More corporate companies should come to Bihar. So the students are eagerly waiting if some new changes happen.
Right. So there are some here who are talking of changes. These are young युवा voters. There are some others here as well. आप सुबह-सुबह वोट देने आ गई हैं, वोट करने आई हैं यहाँ पे. घर पे सब नाश्ता-वाश्ता बना कर आई है या जाकर बनेगा?
हाँ सर.
सब करके आई हैं?
हाँ, सब करके आए हैं.
अच्छा, तो कितनी एक्साइटमेंट है इस बार वोट देने के लिए महिलाओं में? Acha. So see, she is a little shy, but there are some women we met who are very clear in their head as to why they are voting for the candidate that they're casting their vote for. Tejasvi Yadav is the chief ministerial face of Mahagathbandhan. He's early morning appealed to Gen Z voters, the young voters, to come out and cast their vote. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Rahul Gandhi, they've all appealing to that section of youth. First-time voters, about 14 lakh. They are aspirational, and they perhaps could hold the key along with the Mahila voters. So the Mahila and the Yuva are emerging as the new MY factor. Earlier it was Muslim Yadav combination that was forged by Lalu Prasad Yadav to rule Bihar, but the new MY seems to be Mahila and Yuva, and it will be interesting to note come 14 November if they are voting for change or they are voting for continuity.
Okay, thank you so much for the latest update there. We'll keep an eye out on more updates. Thank you so much, Arunima, for that one. But with that, we're absolutely out of time on this edition of Power Breakfast. Nifty implied open, indicating a slight bit of a positive start for the Indian markets. But we'll keep an eye out on that. Just 13 points up now. We started the show with more than 25-point uptick. Now 13 points are muted to a slight bit of a positive start. But don't go anywhere. Bazaar Morning Call is up next to take you through all that action.